We're live on CBS Radio Network, 52 weeks a year. It's the longest running broadcast in the world. We're probably one of the only programs in the world that go live to air. During the broadcast, I'm the mix engineer. So I'm the guy running the console. We got one shot. We got one shot to get it right, and there's a ton of pressure that's involved with that. We were looking for better monitoring than what we had. And coming from a studio background, listening to me was everything. It doesn't matter how good my microphones are, it doesn't matter how good my preamps are. If what I'm hearing is not accurate, it all doesn't matter. And so what I found myself doing is I found myself listening with headphones because I couldn't trust the monitors in our rooms. We had a couple engineers that had been working with us on album projects, guest engineers from LA and other places, that had mentioned to me, you really ought to check out Wilson monitors. And I would say, well, I've heard of them, but really, in this environment, doing what we do, the concern of how they would translate, how they'd hold up, and just the reliability factor was a concern. And this went on for about 2 years of these guys just telling me, you really ought to check them out. So we went down for a demo at Wilson at the factory. And I got to say that just the tour of the factory blew me away. The thing that impressed me most was the meticulousness of the craftsmanship and the attention to detail that went into the making of the speakers. By the end, I was like, this is all great, but let's listen to these. And so we had taken down some source material, some stuff that we'd been working on, and we didn't know that Dave was going to have a same pair of the monitors that we had just put in this room, sitting there for us to A/B on. And I got to tell you, when we switched the switch the first time and went from what we had just spent a boatload of money on to buy to the Wilsons, I got sick to my stomach. I was physically sick to my stomach, thinking that I had just spent the amount of money that I had done on those monitors, and they sounded like they did, in comparison with what the Wilson sounded like. And Dave came up and installed the Watt Puppies, and we pulled everything out. And I was nervous about that. I got to say, I was nervous because, all of my eggs are in one basket now, but I've never looked back. The first week that I was mixing on the Watt Puppies in the room, we were live with New York, CBS Radio Network, and the engineer comes on. He'd been listening to the rehearsal, which he hears probably a half an hour of something before we call him and establish levels. And he goes, what are you guys doing different? And I'm going, well, what do you mean? And he goes, no, this sounds completely different. And I go, is that a good thing or a bad thing? He says, it sounds incredible. And we said, well, we just changed monitors. And he goes, well, whatever you've done, don't change it. What you find yourself as a mixer doing, you find yourself doing less and less to the signal. When I use a good microphone and I use a preamp and I have a monitor that plays back accurately, I can do little things. I find myself not equalizing anything. I find myself moving the microphone a foot. I can move a microphone a few inches, okay? And I can hear the difference. And for me, that's gold.